What is going on, Beamer fans? Welcome back to Beamer Review. For today's video, we're going to be going over exactly how to use the BMW iDrive controller. So everyone, for today's video, we'll be going over exactly all the different functions that this little guy can do. For the majority of BMWs, they are still using this really fancy controller that they have here. I have noticed that whenever I have a brand new client or a brand new customer, they usually have quite a difficult time getting a grasp of how to use this, because at first it can be a little bit tricky. But if you are already acquainted with this, you probably have a really good idea of how this guy works. But stay tuned, because there might be a couple things that you may have not have known that this guy can do. So for this video, we're going to be covering just that. Before we get started, I did want to mention some really cool BMW key fob covers. We do sell these in our shop. They are selling all around the United States. So if you did needed a pair, please feel free to check that out at the end of the video. The links for those are going to be right down below. Also, at the end of the video, a major question that I want in the discussions right down below inside the comments is, do you guys think that BMW should get rid of this iDrive controller? All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So for all the newer BMWs, they've all had this BMW iDrive controller. If you have an X1 or X2, those unfortunately do not have it. But if you have any other BMW, more likely than not, you already have this guy. Now, two different ways to control the screen. Of course, we have our touch screen. If you are new to BMWs, more likely than not, you pretty much already know how to touch the screen. That was supposed to be a funny joke. But anyways, I have noticed that whenever I am driving, it can get really annoying whenever I'm trying to drive and then touch the screen at the same time. So whenever I am driving, a lot of the times I will just use the controller here, because it does make it much more easy to navigate the screen without having to reach over and then touch the entire thing. So let's get right into it. One of the first things I wanted to mention to kind of get your attention is that you can draw on this controller. I have mentioned it in many of my videos. If you are new to my channel, more likely than not, you may have not known about this. But yes, you can draw letters on the controller itself. So let me go ahead and demonstrate that. What I would do in that scenario is I would go into my maps, and then let's just say that I'm going to go ahead and search for a spot. Now, of course, it may just be easy to just type in the letters. You also have a microphone here to just say it by voice. Those are probably going to be the easier way to do it. But yeah, cool little trick. You can draw on this guy. So let's just say, for example, if I wanted to draw a L, I could just go ahead and do that. L. And then if I wanted to spell out lemon, I would do a E right down at the controller, and then just go ahead and spell out the word. And then yes, you can draw on this controller. And I don't think that is how I spell lemon, but I tried my best. So yes, it does take a little bit of practice, but yeah, you can draw on this guy if you decided to. In my opinion, that was probably going to be the third most efficient way to do it. It's easier to just say it by voice, or just go ahead and type that in. Now, on the top of the controller, you're going to see all these little shortcuts. Your BMW, depending on which one you are going to have a different set of numbers. But I have found that if you press on the home screen, it's going to bring you to the home screen. My home screen might look different because I have the M vehicle, so your screen may look a little bit different compared to this, just FYI. But yes, anytime you're lost, just press on the home screen here, and then you're going to go back to your home screen. And then no matter where you are, if you press home, of course, it brings you to the home screen. It brings you back to the beginning, so then you can go ahead and start off fresh again. That is going to be the home button right there. If you have media, it's going to bring you to whatever media you have playing. I currently don't have Apple CarPlay connected, but if I did, it more likely than not would go into the media inside Apple CarPlay. Media will go to whichever media is currently active or what was used last. So say, for example, if you were listening to Pandora in Apple CarPlay, the media button would function to go into that. Or if you were using your FM radio here, your media button would go ahead and function into that. So that is going to be our media button. Our map button here is a little bit tricky, because if you are not using, at the time of this video, if you are not using, say for example, Waze or Google Maps or Apple Maps, your map button here will bring you to the BMW maps. But if you do have a active navigation on Waze, Apple CarPlay, or Google Maps, your map button will go directly into that. But again, if you don't have no navigation active, your map button will just default into going to the BMW one. So that will cover these top three here. I will say that these top three are probably going to be the most popular one that you will be using the most, because it helps to just go to the home button. If you're trying to change your music or see what's playing, you can go into media. If you wanted to see your map immediately, you can go into map. So yes, these three, in my opinion, are going to be the most useful ones. Down here, you're going to have telephone here that goes into your telephone contacts. And then our navigation button here will bring you back into this screen here, where you can go ahead and punch in your address or draw your address. So that is going to be these 5. For some BMWs, you may have a globe that is located here that brings you into the BMW apps, which aren't going to be too useful unless you're trying to look up things like the weather and the news. My car doesn't have it, but some cars may have a nice little globe icon here. Probably the more important part of the video is how to use this guy. So the way to use the controller is there's a few different ways that you can use it, or what you could do is you can turn it to go around the whole screen, or not around the whole screen, but you can use it to go around a certain section of the screen, which is this guy right here. So let's just say, for example, I'm turning it left and right. It just controls this left side here. But now, say for example, if I wanted to go jump over to this side, this whole section here, or even the section way down here, I could do that too. A lot of people don't know that you can just go ahead and tilt the controller like so, and then it makes it so that you can now control this side whenever you're turning the dial. You can go left, right, and then so now because I tilted that, I'm controlling this section of the screen. And then say for example, I wanted to go down here, the way that I would do that is tilt the controller down. And then now say for example, for the new iDrive 8 system, which are going to be what all the new BMWs have, they do have a hidden shortcut menu that is located right up there. If I wanted to access that, I would tilt up from the home screen, and then that will bring down this guy here, and then I can now rotate the dial to navigate through this whole thing here. So yes, tilting is probably one of those things that a lot of people are just not familiar with. They think that whenever they want to go to a different icon or whatever, that they would have to tilt their way there. That's actually not the case. The tilting part of the iDrive controller is just to jump through a different section that you can control by rotating the control knob here. So yes, just to put it in a nutshell, you rotate the controller, you can navigate through a section, you tilt the controller, you can change a section, and then now control this side. So that is going to be a major thing about that. You're going to have two buttons down here. All the BMWs will have a back button. Yours may have listed, yours may be indicated by a back button that says back on it, or you may just have an arrow that will just bring you back a screen. But yes, I will say that back is a very, very useful button. This one is going to be one that you want to pay attention to, because say for example, if you go into a menu, if you push down into a menu, then you're going to be here. But let's just say for example, you did that by accident. Well, then now what you want to do is go back a screen. So push back, and then you're back a screen. You're gonna see option listed way down here. In my opinion, it's not too useful. There will be a couple of instances where you may want to use this. Let's just say for example, if we want to program a shortcut into one of these guys here, the way that you could do that is you would use your dial, click on the settings, whichever setting you want to do or save, and then what you could do is you could either hold this down and then it brings up what the option button would bring up, or you can push option right here and then it will still bring up the same screen. So that is one way to add a shortcut, is by pushing on the option key here. If you were to push on option, you can also get help right here too, which brings you into the owner's manual. So if there is something within the car that you don't know what it does or wanted some more details about it, you can push on option here, and then you can go ahead and then add the shortcut or get more tips about it. I guess I said that it's not really useful, but now that I think about it, inside iDrive 8, there are a few different things that the option key can do differently. So let's just say, for example, if you wanted to go into Sirius and then look up your radio ID, you would be using the option key to do that. Or you could also hold down on the screen. So let's just say, for example, if I go into Sirius here, if I was on call with Sirius and then they asked for a radio ID, what I could do is push on option right here, and then it would bring up this little menu right here that would only otherwise be accessed if you were to hold down on the controller. So here, let's just say for example, you needed to get your radio ID to give to Sirius. What you could do is go into here, and then what you could do is you could just go into manage my account, and then inside manage my account is going to be where you would see your radio ID along with the phone number there. So that is one way that the option key is also useful. The other way the option key is also useful is if you go into maps. Now let's just say, for example, if you were to go into recent destinations here, if there was a specific address that you wanted to save as a favorite, not only, yes, could you hold it down, but yes, using the option key here, you can also bring up the same menu that we just did. And then right here, the option key or menu is giving you some more. You can save that destination that you click the option key on to save it as a favorite. You can use it to show details. You can also delete all these entries that were shown there. You can delete the specific one. And then not only that, once you do have it saved as a favorite, if you actually go into your favorites, what you could do is push on the option key again, and then what you'll see is another menu where you can do things like edit the entry, so you can change the name of whatever this favorite here is. So if I wanted to change the name from Aroma Joe's to, say for example, my favorite coffee place, I would push on the option key here, bring up this menu, go down to where it says edit entry, and then I could just go ahead and change the name to whatever I want. So yes, the option key is very, very useful. In the previous BMWs, it wasn't all that, but I will say in the iDrive 8 system, there are a few different things you can do with that. Again, it's a little guy, but it's very, very useful. It will take some time getting used to, maybe about a week to 2 weeks or so, but I will say that the best time to use this guy is whenever you are driving your vehicle. Once you're driving and then you're on the road, it's really annoying to have to look at the screen, to touch, to get to wherever you want to go. But by using the iDrive controller, I can literally just keep one hand on the wheel, my left hand on the wheel, and then use my right hand here to just go through the entire menu selections and all that. It does take a little bit of getting used to, again, as mentioned, but I will say that once you kind of get a good feel for this guy, you're gonna be wishing that every single vehicle had done it like BMW. I've tried many different controlling systems that control car screens and all that. Yes, touch is probably gonna be the only competitive one to the iDrive controller, but if there was a physical controller out of all the car brands that I think is the best, and yes, I am a little bit BMW biased, I'm not gonna lie, but I do think that BMW's controller have been doing it the best since the last 10 years now. It hasn't changed in the way that it functions, and I'm glad that it hasn't, because there are so many different ways that you can use this guy, and it's really intuitive. You get the feel for it. Many clients and customers are actually complaining about the fact that the new X1 and X2s don't come with these guys, because the X1s and X2s do have the touch screen, so they are relying more on the actual touch. But I will say that having the option to touch the screen along with having the controller here is very useful, because I also happen to catch myself controlling the screen in 2 different ways. A lot of the times I will use touch if I'm parked, but again, as mentioned for the 4th time, I will use the controller if I'm driving the car. A lot of times too, the controller is very useful if you're getting a phone call. You can just use the controller and just go like that. You'll see the name of whoever's calling you. You can just press on accept. If you were getting a phone call as well, you can also use the phone button here to pick up the call. You can also use it to hang up the call too. Keep that in mind. But yes, that is gonna sum it up for the controller. If you all had any questions on how this guy works, feel free to let me know. Again, this is gonna be a nice little BMW basics video. If you are completely new to BMWs, this video will be very, very useful to you. If you have had BMWs for quite a while, which is going to be a lot of our members on the channel, probably wondering why I did this, because you may already have a really good idea of how this guy works. But yes, everyone who's new to BMWs, this should help you a little bit. Again, if you all had questions, write those down below. If you make sure you guys subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Check out the links right down below for those BMW key fob covers. They are for the new BMW key fobs, so keep that in mind. They won't work for the old blade style keys. Hope you all have a great day. Happy holidays, and I will see you all for the next one.